What in the fuck? Yeah, I'm out of here. Hey, how you doing? Welcome. I hope you're in for a braintastic adventure and Stubbs the zombie in Rebel Without a Pulse. Now, this is a treat for me. I got to play this in co-op mode for the first time with William in the newer version of this. But I did play the original version on the original Xbox back in the heyday of 2005. Oh, Lord, am I fucking old. But we're here to talk about this port of Stubbs the Zombie. Now, I do think it's important to note that this isn't a remaster, because there isn't a whole lot done here. I imagine the, the frame rate and such was likely adjusted better, and the gameplay was put in widescreen, but the cutscenes were still presented in standard, because, well, this is, older days where they didn't really save the code for games, usually. And because of that, a lot of cutscenes in the older days were usually actual movie clips they made versus actually being in-game engine files being ran. Depends on the game, but a lot of times it was common practice to make them movies to save on disk space. And because of that, obviously you can't remaster that very easily. You can stretch it and make it look horrible, but obviously most people don't like that. That's why stuff like Papa the Rapper's PS4 version also presents its cutscenes in standard frame, because they were movies, so. But otherwise, there isn't a lot really done in this, so I think calling it a remaster is only being done by the player base, because it's just, how should I say, a fancy tag word, but I don't think that's appropriate. But anyway, let's get into it, shall we? So, Stubbs, the zombie, in Rebel Without a Pulse. Now, what's really interesting about this game is that it actually gives you co-op mode, and this existed in the original version. Like I said, this review and gameplay of this, while you're going to be seeing single player as footage, my review will mainly be based on my experience of the co-op mode. So, first thing, let's get into the story. So, you might be wondering, what is the insane story with this? So, the story of the game is, it takes place in a modern city called Punch Bowl. And basically, this is advertised as the modern future of society, free of crime and plague and problems, and everything is perfect and dandy and everything. It's fantastic. But then all of a sudden, you come into the picture, Stubbs the zombie. And it's just kind of like, what the hell are you? So, Stubbs, the storyline for Stubbs does have a twist to it, and I do want to emphasize, if you don't want that spoiled, because I won't spoil the twist with who Stubbs is, because you're told it obviously through the story, but I found it interesting, the back of at least the PS4 case, I would assume it's on all the modern versions of this, directly ruins it. It literally says it on the back, or something along the lines that ruins that surprise. So, I don't advise reading the back of the box art if you don't want to be spoiled on a major plot point. But anywho, so you awaken in Punch Bowl as a zombie. Now, I do want to note that there is a tutorial level for the game, but it's interesting to note that this tutorial doesn't play out the same in co-op, which was actually interesting to see. You're guided by a robot for the tutorial in single player, but in multiplayer it's a lot more, how should I say, freedom giving a little bit, so it's a little bit more open in that regards. But Stubbs is a very interesting zombie game, though. So the big thing that's different about it, in my opinion, is the fact that you play as a zombie. You know, usually zombie games, you know, you play as some kind of survival trying to fight the zombie apocalypse. But that's not the case in Stubbs. So Stubbs, instead, is trying to take over the city, one human at a time. So, in Stubbs, you start out with very average powers of being able to attack and eat people's brains and converting them into zombies. But you will gain powers as you progress through it. One of the first powers I believe you got was the fart power, which will actually momentarily decapitate people. Or not decapitate, incapacitate people. And they will be incapable of harming you. You'll also have your own grenades using your organs that will have explosive results. You'll also get a power for your hand, which can mind control people, and you can use them and whatever they have, like guns, bazookas, and shit, against others. So it's a lot of fun. You also get a bowling head option, like literally you can use your head as a bowling ball. It's pretty bizarre in its own way. Now Stubbs is really interesting history for its day because it used the Halo 1 engine, oddly enough, in its creation. So you're playing a game using the Halo 1 engine. It's very odd. Very, very bizarre. But this game is very, very humor based. It is not meant to be played as some kind of serious storyline, even though the storyline is pretty funny.
Good morning, officers.
Good morning, Pump Bud.
Killer up?
Yeah, but make it snappy. We're in the middle of a zombie holocaust.
Okie dokie. One tank of extra leaded coming right up.
I'm not sure I have enough cash to cover that.
Oh, never you mind, sir. It's on the house.
Oh, there's no need for that.
Oh, it's my pleasure, officers. My pleasure. Hey, want me to look under the hood?
No! I need to use the restroom.
Oh, it's round the back.
Yeah, go ahead. I'll try to keep him from eloping with the car.
But it is a very old game in that for its time and everything. But you're basically going to be taking over this city, converting people into zombies and shit. And it's just hilarious as these people try to bumble their way into stopping you. Now, I played through the game both times in normal, so it's not of insane difficulty. You get a lot of freedom on how to take care of situations, but oddly enough, you know, of course, having a giant army of zombies with you, of course, makes things vastly easier. And you have options to get zombies to follow you or push them in the direction that you want, so you can basically horde zombies into your direction. Now, there is stealth option in the game, though that's really only something you need to do if you play the game on harder difficulties. Honestly, on normal and easy, it's really easy to just beat people up and take them over as zombies and that. And people convert into zombies pretty fast, so you can quickly have the level pretty filled up with zombies. And it's just fun running around and watching the place just be taken over and shit. It is. And what's also good is your ally zombies will help you convert people into zombies. So as long as they don't die, they're just helping in the whole process. So it all works out in a sense. Now there are different people. You have the citizens, which mostly don't put up much of a fight, but they sometimes can come at you with melee. You have officers, security guards, SWAT team. So you do get more and more dangerous people. And it also gets weirder with a segment with hillbillies that come after you too. It gets pretty weird. But that starts going into the plot line more, and we'll get to that, of course, in spoilers of that. So each level of the game is slowly consuming more and more of the city, and as you get further in the game, the city starts ending up in much more of a post-apocalyptic state, as well the zombie hordes are taking over the city. Like, you're your zombies was just slowly consuming everything. Like, I mean, one of the funnier levels, in my opinion, is the whole officers, the police station. It's a hilarious example of how everything gets out of control. I love, like, there's a moment in the game where there's a lot of locked doors when you first go to the police station, and after a little while, you'll basically get all these doors unlocked to a big central room full of officers, and a lot of zombies you've made throughout the stage up to that point get unleashed inside, and it's just fun watching them swarm in. Just take care of the mess themselves. Like, they take care of it pretty well. It's honestly one of my favorite stages. The police station is hilarious for many other reasons that I wouldn't really want to spoil for a blind playthrough. But personally, I enjoy trying to convert as many people into zombies, though. Because obviously having a large group of zombies is in your benefit. Now, Stubbs has a regenerative system, so there isn't like a how should I say, a like medkit system. You just basically regen health. So it's not really it's not really hard to keep yourself up in most situations unless you're just playing really hard. But if you make smart use of all your tools and your utensils and that, you can do a pretty decent job. Probably one of the few things that's really annoying in the game is the Bobble Quartet people. So they become more late game and they fly around, and obviously being a stumbling zombie, it's a lot harder to hit something in the air, and the game doesn't give you a lot of options to be able to get them down so you can either convert them or kill them. Now, your grenades and such are your best option to really go about that, but of course the problem with that is you have a limited number, and to fill up your stuff you have to convert and kill people. So as you consume people, you fill up your gauges. So there are situations where you get infinite people, like the final boss actually requires you to use your powers. So it always has a swarm of people coming into the final boss room, for example. So there are moments where you have to continuously fed people to keep your powers up. But in some of the situations with the Bobble Quartet, sometimes you have to be a little smart with your resources, because it can be a little bit annoying and come down to just jumping and swatting them sometimes, and that's probably my biggest annoyance in the game. Other than that, like, I love this game. It's a huge flashback from the past, and it's just hilarious fun. Now, I had the game crash on me one time. Just one time, which is pretty good, to be honest. I've had, like, multiple other games, you know, on PS4 crash multiple times. Like, Elden Ring has, even now, recently, from finishing Elden Ring, has had, like, weird moments of it freezing in co-op, which I don't know why it does that. It only does it when, like, being summoned or summoning. It's very bizarre, but it sucks when it happens, of course. But I've only had Stubbs crash one time. So overall, I really consider the port really decent. They did a decent job. Now, I can't remember how the controls were on the original Xbox. They might have swapped them a little bit. Because you have controls for Stubbs, controls for vehicles, yeah, because there are actual few segments where you actually hop into a vehicle and drive around. And then there's the controls for humans. As I said, like, humans can have guns, and that gives you a different playstyle. Of course, some people have always brought up the fact that if Stubbs can drive a vehicle, why can't he pick up the guns? I don't know. That just happens to be the case. That's how the game is, sadly. That's just how the game is, sadly. Now, the stages, for the most part, are pretty linear. They have a little bit of vocality to them going up and down and such, but they're not usually too crazy to move forward. They don't really involve a lot of backtracking too much. I'd say the second level is probably the one that's the most confusing when it comes to how should I say, going about, because it's a big circular. But at the end of the day, Stubbs is a hilarious game that I definitely recommend everyone playing. It really is a easy recommendation. Of course, like I said, it's not going to have fancy graphics or that, because it's more of a port. Like, it really does not look like it was touched up much to me. It really doesn't. Like, it really just brings me flashbacks to the older days. I did try to see if anyone actually had any good documentation on whether they actually did do any work with this game, like updating it, but I couldn't really find any good info on that, sadly. And with me having no original Xbox to really pop in and do that with at the moment, because mine died, if you remember, it sadly leads into a problem of not being able to make that my own test, so. But Stubbs the Zombie, I definitely recommend it. It is hilarious. And I'm very glad to see that, as far as I can remember, nothing has appeared to have been censored. The game has many inappropriate jokes that I imagine our modern age of people would, consider inappropriate. So it's nice to know a lot of jokes remained in. Again, police stations were my favorites. If you know what happens at the end of the police station, you probably know why. I just find it so fucking hilarious. But Stubbs controls good and everything, in my opinion. But if you want modern graphics and stuff, you probably just should look somewhere else. But honestly, considering this game came out in 2005, and I've yet to see a really good game do this kind of idea in a very humorous style, mind you. Like, there's not a lot of games where you play as zombies, and you'd think we would have more that would try that idea, but for some reason, just never really seemed to come to be. But I highly recommend it for humor, its uniqueness, and its bizarreness. And again, you can play it in co-op. Now, it is important to note that co-op is local only. Being an original Xbox game, there weren't a lot of Xbox games that had online multiplayer outside of Halo. It was a lot more rare in those days for you kiddies that were, well, more teenies, or you know, those of you that weren't around those days, you know, you kiddies and teenies and teenies, not T-E-E, you know it. But local co-op. Now, of course, you can do share play co-op if you play on a platform that does that option. But honestly, I definitely recommend Stubbs. Now, it is important to note that this is the PS4 version. This did come out on Switch, and I always tell you, you know, I'm very hesitant to get Switch versions of stuff. I get the draw of wanting to play something portable, but so many times I see games like this not be given a proper job on the Switch. Sometimes it's because the Switch can't handle it, and other times the dev team was too lazy with the Switch version. I don't know if the Switch version is bugged on this, so you might have to look that up. But the PS4's build off the disc is really good. Like I said, it only crashed one time, didn't really have any real problems with it. So, I definitely recommend it. And for $19.99, which is its retail price, both physically and digitally, that's a fantastic price, especially considering apparently the original Xbox version commands a between the $30-50 price range for a copy, loose or cribbed. And, of course, sealed copies up there in the hundreds, because that's what sealed copies do these days. I was surprised to see it actually command a much higher price. I remember this game being pretty unknown, pretty under the radar, and pretty cheap. So it's interesting to see the price going up. Now, it's not super expensive. That's definitely a vastly reasonable price compared to the many games that were into the hundreds for just a loose copy. So it's definitely a much manageable increase in the price. But you won't have to pay that much with this game, though. you definitely can find these pretty cheap. I actually got my copy for the PS4 for $9 at GameStop. So you can find lots of good deals. And on top of that, this is available on GOG DRM free. So if you don't like Steam but you like PC, you can get DRM free as well, which I imagine might have some mod options too. Actually, could you imagine if somebody like changed all the models into like Simpsons characters or something? Oh dear lord, that'd be interesting. But again, I don't know if the Switch version is bugged or not, so you might have to do your own research on that to see if it's. But if it plays anything like the PS4 version, it would be a good system. It'd be a fantastic game to play portably. The stages are pretty not super long. You know, you could play a stage on a car drive and then put the game away. I could see that depending on the car drive length. You know, if it's like a 30-minute kind of drive thing, I could see that. And it saves and stuff. It has save options, and you can always go back to different stages too. Once you finish the game, you can stage hop everywhere. So fantastic. But what do I think the value of Stubbs the Zombie is? So it is important to know, like I said, this is more of a very basic port of this game to modern consoles than a remaster or touch-up. It's certainly not a remake, that's for sure. So it is important to note that it is more of a touch-up, but I didn't really have any real problems outside of the one crash. I'd say the only other notable thing that was kind of odd, and I don't know if this was in the original release, but I did notice a few human characters, when killed, kind of like floating a little above the ground, looking like they're falling, waving their arms and legs, and not fully dying in that. Kind of odd. Again, I don't remember if that was in the original release, but it did not hinder the gameplay at all. So that was fine and dandy. It's a little jank, but still fun, silly, crazy jank. Yeah! But what is the value of Stubbs the Zombie Webble without a pulse for modern consoles? I think that the $19.99 price range is actually just right. It's a fantastic price for a quick buck port. Now, you know, I've seen a lot of these quick slapped ports before, and a lot of times they're really, really bad. Like, really bad. But again, if the worst problems I had was it crashing once and a few humans looking like they're falling infinitely low above the ground, I'd say mission accomplished on giving this to modern audience, because I've seen vastly worse shit that is just almost virtually not playable. Like, we have seen some really lazy ports before, so this is a fantastic job here, honestly. I mean, it would have been nice to get some more touch-ups, but, you know, $19.99 is pretty cheap for a good game, especially when the original release is higher than that. So, you know, if you missed out on getting the original version, this is an option to get for a more reasonable price. And again, like I said, at this point, you can find this game pretty cheap. Pretty more around $10 to $15 if you look around a little bit. Whether it'll stay like that forever, probably not, but, you know, at the moment, I can only tell you what it's going for at the moment. Now, of course, if you're more interested in getting the original Xbox version, I already told you, you're looking at between $30 to $50 on loose and cribbed. So, that's not horrible, but honestly, would I recommend going for it? Unless you're like a die-hard original Xbox person, and you really want to just get the 100% original experience, controls and everything, I think it's a fail okay to get at least the PS4 version. I would imagine the Xbox One version's probably fine too. It would be really ironic if that was bad, but you might want to do a little more research on the Switch version if for the console end. But again, you know, it is on GOG and Steam, and they do have nice reviews actually on Steam and GOG, so those are actually good options to go with too. And yeah, I really enjoy this game. It's hilarious. It's just really fucking fun. I really was happy to play this in co-op mode. And like I said, the only thing I really noticed in co-op mode that's different is the tutorial on stage 1. It's just a lot more open and less hand-holdy. Where in single player it's very hand-holdy in the full stage tutorialing all the basics and that. So they didn't really convert the tutorial in co-op mode very well. It still has some on-screen instructions, but it doesn't really like halt the game any or anything. So it was really fun playing this in co-op. It really was. It'll be a good memory with William's visit here to America. And for those who aren't familiar with William, he is someone I hang out with in VR, do my workouts and stuff with him. You know, there's a lot of other people, but he's part of the workout group and stuff. I hang out with him in VR. He came to visit America last month, so it's a nice little memory to have with him. But those are my thoughts on Stubbs the Zombie. So let's get into spoilers. Spoilers for those who want my opinions on the story in that, even though this is this very ancient game at this point. So, Stubbs the Zombie story. So, you know, you're a zombie, you came to life into this city, and you're turning everyone to zombies. What's going on? Once you start encountering the hillbillies, you'll start getting a better idea that there's something about the hillbillies and that Stubbs has elation. So, Stubbs was originally a door-to-door salesman when he was alive, and he went to the farm where the hillbillies are from. And the father wasn't home at the time, the daughter was, and for some reason the daughter was just like super horny, so she like pulls you in, and you get a quickie, and the father comes home. Of course, he's very pissed about you getting a quickie with his daughter, and he goes, runs you out of the house, and he murders you and buries you on the farm. And that's how you came to become the undead. So what Stubbs is doing is he's trying to get to her, and she's Miss Monday, who you see in the cutscenes that Stubbs shows affection to in some of the early cutscenes. So he's trying to get back to his quote-unquote level. Well, see, the irony with this whole thing is the mayor is Mrs. Monday's son, but she's single. Oh, you see where this is going? That's why this is a Star Wars moment. The mayor is Stubbs' son. So it's just really weird when you get to the end and this is revealed that you're the father, and like the son's like, "Okay, Dad, come and get me." It's just so fucking hilarious. Oh, and there's of course the Nazi scientist who has been converted to a decent American, but not really. That got William to chuckle. I actually forgot about that until the cutscene showed it. I was like, oh, yeah, I forgot about that. But yeah, you know, the son loses. You don't convert him into a zombie. Mrs. Monday, who gets converted to a zombie by the end of the boss fight, is like, no, let's go. And then the city gets bombed, and the son gets blown away, and you and your new zombie wife get away on a boat, and that's the end. Kinda wish there was a little bit more to the ending, but hey, you know, it was a older game, and it's more about the comedy than the story, so it gets the job done. It's hilarious either way. It's just a great. Do you need something to tickle your funny bone in this age of everyone being hyper serious and incapable of humor? This is the game for you. It's fantastic for it. I'm glad this got a modern version that's half decently done, because you see, like, way too many of these games end up as fucking messes. Hell, you got brand new games ending up like messes. Look at Balan's Wonderworld. Or was it Land? Was it World or Land? I don't know. Yeah, you know, it just feels like less confidence to have a good, coherent product. But, yeah. And it's sad that there was originally an idea to make a sequel for this, but because the company went under, they never got to realize that. So I would hope maybe there could be a small chance at revisiting that idea. I know I would love to see Stubbs come back, but the sad truth is probably won't, at least not with the humor he had, that's for sure. They'd probably Saint Woe remake it. But anyway, those are my opinions on Stubbs the Zombie in Rebel Without a Pulse. Highly recommended. It's for fantastic price ranges, so I don't think there's a lot of excuses to not pick it up. So check it out if it interests you in any way. I definitely recommend it. Hilarious adventure. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below. And if you feel like you learned anything interesting here, please leave a like. And if you feel like you learned nothing at all, feel free to leave a dislike, guilt-free. And until next time, I'll see you at the proving grounds. And watch out for those quips and the zombies. They're dangerous, you know.
I'm glad you came directly to my office. It's much more convenient if I kill you here. You're about to learn you can't escape the long arm of the law. I told you I would dance in your grave, and I meant it.
Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream. Make her the cutest that I've ever seen. Give her the word that I'm not a rover. And tell her that her lonesome nights are over. Sandman, I'm so alone. Don't have nobody to call my own. Please turn on your magic beam. Mr. Sandman, bring me a
Incredible! You dance like an undead Sid Charisse!
There's a place where lovers go to cry their troubles away, and they call it Lonesome Town, where the broken hearts stay. You can buy a dream or two to last you all through the year, and the only price you pay is a heart full
You're pretty spry for a dead man, but you're still no match for me!
lollipop. Crazy way she thrills me, tell you why. Just like the lightning from the sky. She loves to kiss me till I can't see straight. Gee, my lollipop is great. I call her lollipop, lollipop, oh lolly, 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 lollipop, lollipop, oh lolly, 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 lollipop, lollipop, oh lolly, 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 lollipop. Sweeter than candy on a stick, Huckleberry cherry lime. If you had a choice, she'd be